All right, let's talk about what to do if, as you're pondering the psychological state of your board members, whether it's an individual or a lot of them, and you come to the conclusion that they are in the pre-contemplative phase. As a reminder, this means they're not really spending a lot of time thinking about what they're doing wrong. They are either naive about their sins and their impacts on other people. An example of that is actually in the anger category. I have a lot of male clients who enter the space of their family with a lot of negative energy, a lot of anger, and it goes right over the head as to the impact it has on other people. I'm working with a couple right now that's dating. They're both between marriages, and the man in the story is very sexual in his joking and flirting with her. And while that was fun for a couple of days, it's now very disruptive to the relationship because she's ready to move on to more mature and more substantive elements. We do see lots of married couples where the husband still thinks it's the funnest thing to do to sexually flirt with his wife when she would like to think about the needs of the children or be validated for the fact that she actually has a brain and she actually has the ability to think. And so sadly, naivety is a legitimate thing. Some people just liking being sinners. I've met those like, I like it, it's fun. I'm not really motivated to fix anything. Or the more common one, the one we see the most in our culture is, I've tried everything and nothing's working, it can't be fixed, so I'm gonna stop agonizing about it. In fact, we see this in the media a lot where people have gone so far as to become anti-religious or anti-LDS because we're making people feel guilty, when it's actually not us that's making people feel guilty, but they can go past feeling and just not care anymore. I want to give you a couple of ideas or a couple of tools if you come to the conclusion that that's the state of being that your people are in. Let's start with what not to do. Do not use hellfire damnation techniques like, whether you know it or not, you're going to hell. Whether you believe it or not, you are a sinner and you're going to hell. I've never quite seen that work. The other popular one is the shame factor. If you do this, people won't like you. If you do this, people think you're disgusting. If you do this, it's gross. I see people doing this on accident sometimes. Like someone will be saying, you know, if you have a problem with anger, you should work on it. If you're a pornography user, oh, like just gross. If there's someone in the audience who is fighting pornography and that's how you describe it, they're going to be going, okay, no need to bring this topic up because I already know how you think of those people. So please have a reverence for all types of sin, because if a person really feels the Spirit and pushes them into the contemplative phase, if they feel that shame, they're not going to talk to you about it. A couple of techniques or tools to use to help your audience move to a more contemplative phase of thinking. One of them is called role plays. Role plays of confessionals. Now, bishops, I'm sure you've all had the confusing experience of people thinking that you have a sledgehammer behind your chair in your office. And if they come to you and imply that they have something to work on, for some reason they're scared of you. And most of you are the nicest guy in the ward. Like, who am I gonna hurt? Whose life am I gonna ruin? This is our first introduction to satanic involvement in psychology, because how do they get this idea that a nice guy like you is going to yell at them? A nice guy like you are going to cause them shame. And so we can tell them, it's been our experience where we say to them, I'm going to be nice to you, I'm going to be nurturing to you, and they go, mm-hmm. But for some reason their imagination, with help from Satan, is always louder than what you're saying. So there's a really fun game you can play. Most of my techniques are designed to work with those who are pre-stage or approximately that age, a little younger, a little older. And so what you do, Bishop, you say, today we're going to play a game. We're going to play a game called A Visit to the Bishop's Office. All right? When you're working with teenagers, especially when you're role-playing something, you always want to role-play it wrong the first time in an exaggerated way. So here's how you do it. Have one of your young men leaders who's the most adolescent, you know, and have him come in with baggy pants and his hat on crooked or something like that, swaggering like an adolescent, and he gets to be the teenager. And he comes in and his job is to act like a teenager coming into your office. Now, I'm decently good at behaving like a teenage boy. If they come in, they say, and you're like, is he ever going to talk differently than a knuckle-dragging gorilla? Probably not. He's just gonna and the whole time he's sitting there. Because as soon as he says, so Bishop, like I got like this kind of like sort of like a problem thing. What you do now in the roleplay, Bishop, is you jump out of your chair, you take your Nerf hammer that you brought with you, you yell at him and you hit him with it a few times. And the weirdest thing about this is while you're role-playing that, there's a few guys in the audience who are gonna go, yep, I knew that's exactly what the bishop would do. If I came in his office, he would jump out of his chair, yell at me, and beat me. We use this technique, it's called a bring dark things to light technique. If you can bring what they hold in their imagination as what's going to happen, and you can display it comically, funny, we have now reversed the satanic technique of working this idea in their head, this vision in their head, and we've now eliminated it as that's ridiculous. There's no way a bishop would actually act like that. Then you erase it, then you have the guy start over again, and here's where it's challenging, Bishop, because some of you are not as ready as you think you are. You have the guy come in and do the whole same like awkward experience, and then you as a bishop demonstrate your actual response of what it's going to be like. You show empathy, you show compassion, you show encouragement. And may I strongly recommend before you do this, you make sure you've studied the Like Dragons Did They Fight book so that your response is a warrior leader's response, not a response of, man, you are broken, man, you are a sinner. You've got to have those principles in your mind before you do this. I won't cover those in detail now, but if you're not a reader, there's a video link you can follow here that'll take you to a 30-minute walkthrough of the basic principles of the Like Dragons Did They Fight concepts. Or if you like to listen and you want more information, you can get it on audio. But it's really important that you have it through reading, listening, or video and your own preparation for these role plays so that you can respond to it as a military leader. And if you haven't learned about this, I have these 30-minute free consultations with bishops. I will walk you through the process. Me or one of my staff will help you. You just say, I needed some time for you to walk me through how to respond so that I can respond in such a way that's edifying. The summary of it, the role play of it, sounds something like this. He says, I'm fighting and I'm losing battles to sexual self-mastery. That's definitely not how he's going to say it, but that's how the theme is going to land on the table. And your first response, I hope, would be something like, welcome to the war. What do you mean, welcome to the war? Like, welcome to the war, like any Nephite young man who would prefer to just play basketball, to throw spears, to build tree houses. The Lamanites, the satanic demons, have entered into your world and they're attacking you and you are forced into war. So welcome to the war. We're now going to train you on how to win this just like all the rest of us had to learn. You've got to make sure their experience is one of, we're doing this together. So you can do these role plays in front of a whole group of them to make it even more fun. Now you let the young men practice and test it on you. You have one at a time or a handful of them come up to you in front of the audience and say, all right, I've got one the bishop can never handle. Okay? All right. High fives his buddies. I'm going in, man. I'm going in to destroy the bishop with a challenge he can't handle. He comes in and sits down and says, all right, Bishop, Mr. Wonder Boy Bishop, you think you can handle any case? And Bishop's, oh, whoa, geez. But now look at his attitude. He already has the confidence he can put stuff on the table. Guess what, Bishop? You know Susie Q down the street? I got her pregnant last week. Yeah! What can you do with that one, Bishop? See, now he's not creeping in. Now he's ready to lay difficult circumstances on the table, and you get to practice responding to it. Say, all right, that's going to be challenging. All right? We've got some work on our hands. Let's get to work and let's work through this. So please, I encourage you to try out the technique if your people are in the pre-contemplative phase, meaning I'm not sure anything can be done about this. I'm not sure if I want to get help. I'm not sure if I want to talk about it. This role-playing technique is very effective.